The championship setting is the One-to-One Fitness and Rehabilitation Center in Dallas. The opposition was Gina Gallardi from Ashley, and the event was the bench press. Our spotter and director of rehab exercise was Ernie Ball, and after a series of warm-ups, the competition began, and I was first.
All right, 115 for Big Jim.
Now my hand's in the right spot.
You got it. You ready? Down and up, Jim. You can handle this weight. Down deep, now just drive it up. Piece of cake. He's going to be a toughie, Gina. Got that pretty easily. I didn't do beans there. 115 for Gina. You ready, Gina?
Well, today, yeah. Usually never, but nothing that stabilizes your arm.
That was tough, Jim. All right, now I guess this will be 5 pounds above Gina's body weight. Just keep your elbows under the bar. You shouldn't have any problems. Ready? Okay, down. Drive it up. You're gonna have to go up a little higher next time.
Get out of here.
Yeah, we'll go to 45.
It's 235. It's not 135.
Give me 2 hours. Okay, Gina.
They're slowing down in here.
Drive it up, Dean. She ate that one, Jim. The big time's coming. You ready? Ready. 135. Now just drive it up.
Press.
You're not bad, Beanie. Spit on me. Do it. Big weight, Gina. Come on. Drive it up. Excellent. 135. 160.
This is it, man.
On the bar, facing Big Jim. Say goodnight.
I'm more of an aerobic machine.
An aerobic animal. You ready? Down and up. Take it up. Say goodnight. Come on, you're gonna drive it.
Push, Jim!
Yeah, Jim, baby! Got it! 160. You ready?
Yeah.
Do it. Drive it.
Congratulations to you.
Congratulations to Gina Gallardi from Ashley. And Miller High Life will send a check of $250 to her charity of choice, the Association for Retarded Citizens.
Tonight's Sports Challenge is brought to you by Miller High Life.
Week number 2 of the Miller Sports Challenge took place at the home of 4-time world champion race car driver Joe Amato of Old Forge, Pennsylvania, and the sport of choice was pool. This world-class athlete rolled out the red carpet, supplied me with the Miller High Life pool cue, but then unveiled his own special cue, case and all, and the stage was set. Sid Michaels flipped the coin, Joe won the toss, and it was his choice to break.
Okay. Get the break. We'll see if we can sink the 8-ball and put him right out of his misery.
Nothing fell.
We spread them out good for you. Pick your poison.
I had the low balls, and lo and behold, I was on a run and started to knock in ball after ball.
Tough shot. All right.
We got this ringer.
Touch
I can
the
see him.
touch. Watch you don't rip the clock now.
The 3.
Oh,
I mean, he miscued it and he still got the ball in the hole.
Look out. The angle. Very nice. Holy mackerel.
The ultimate shot was coming up and put me into a commanding lead in this quick game of 8-ball.
He's a trick shot artist too, huh?
He makes this.
If he makes this, I'm going home. He did. Holy mackerel. How is this possible?
Yeah, I think I was set up there.
But a misfire down the home stretch left the door wide open. And like a true champion, Joe Amato was on the comeback.
It's on the way. It is. It's in. That little red stripe guy down in the corner there.
Playing in the Champions Ballpark, I knew that this was my last shot, and a 2-ball run was what I needed to win it all.
You got it. Uh-oh. He's got it. All right. Uh-oh. This guy's a ringer.
8 ball in the corner.
For the win.
For the win. We thank Joe Amato for his hospitality, and I would like to donate my Miller High Life check to Joe's charity, the St. Francis Soup Kitchen, as we conclude week number 2 of the Miller High Life Sports Challenge.
Crowd? One from the crowd.
It was several years ago when Wilkes-Barre detective Jim Marinello fought the former heavyweight champion of the world, Joe Frazier, for charity at Bishop Hoban High School. Obviously, Jim wanted bigger and better things in 1991, so he challenged me to a couple of rounds of boxing. Not one to pass up the opportunity to cover up, I put on the chest protector and gloves and got ready to rumble. And let the introductions up to Wilkes-Barre Mayor Lee Namey.
You're not going to shake? All right, I want you to go to your corners, gentlemen, and on the sound, come out fighting. Let's go!
He's too serious.
With members of the PAL and their families looking on, Marinello and me got down to business and started to put some punches together.
Well, you're better than I thought he was.
The PAL is an ongoing project of the Wilkes-Barre Police Department and does wonders in keeping youngsters off the streets and focused on sports. We sparred some and Jim went down, but called in some young help from the Police Athletic League. The tough young man that finished me off, his name is Paul Vinton. As we wrapped up a nice night of boxing, Paul Vinton and Jim Marinello donated their $250 to the PAL and the local Special Olympics. Our thanks to Mayor Lee Namey, the PAL, and everyone for another nice night on the Miller Sports Challenge. Tonight's Sports Challenge takes me to College Misericordia in Dallas and a pressure-packed night of free throw shooting against George Schwartz of Pittston. Simple format, the best of 5 through 15 free throws, a 5-shot sudden death, and then, if necessary, a 1-shot sudden death shootout for the win. As we worked our way through the early shots, I hit 9 of 10 and had to face the pressure of shooting with the Cougars screaming from the sidelines for me to miss. George Schwartz was also on in this challenge as he too hit 9 of his first 10 shots and the competition was tied. Sudden death time was here, a 5-shot showdown, and I buried every single one. George then took his turn on the free throw line and did the same thing. So we were tied both at 19 of 20. Then it was a 1-shot sudden death. We each hit our first 2 shots and then the break. I bricked the shot to open the door wide.
It's off.
Then George stepped to the free throw line with his Cougar teammates chanting in the background. He let it fly. The grand totals: George Schwartz, 22 of 23. Jim Miller, 21 of 23. And George donates his $250 to the local AIDS Foundation. Thanks to George Schwartz of Pittston and College Misericordia for a great night of free throw shooting. Week number 6 of the Miller High Life Sports Challenge had us traveling to the St. Michael's Recreation Center in Freeland. The Sports Challenge was bowling as we took on young Anthony Coussat of the MMI Preparatory School of Freeland. Anthony is a member of the school bowling team, and I haven't bowled in 35 years as we approached a 2-game shootout. I took the early lead in game number 1 and put the pressure on. Trailing midway through the first match, Anthony, with the student body cheering en masse for their man, stepped up to lane 5 and let it fly.
The pressure is now on-ish. But now I got to counter that, right? We're going to counter that. Maybe. Oh, man. See, I need the hook, though. Hi, Mom. Hi, Mom.
Well, now things were getting somewhat tight, but the Mills reached down deep for that 10-pin blast and gave it a shot. We wrapped up game number 1, and the old-timer came in at 145, while Anthony shot a 131 with the second game set to roll. Anthony took the early lead in game number 2, and I could never quite overcome the margin. He finished at 143, I finished at 139, but on a 2-game average, I hit 142, Anthony 137, and I won the match. And I donated my $250 to Anthony's charity, that is the United Charities Children's Home in West Hazelton. Thanks to Anthony Coussat, the St. Michael's Rec Center, and the MMI Prep School of Freeland for this week's Miller Sports Challenge.
Like you that truly cares. Well, thank you very much, Dave.
Tonight's Sports Challenge is brought to you by Miller High Life.
Tonight's Miller Sports Challenge comes out of the world of pro baseball as we take on one of the most popular members of the Scranton Wilkes-Barre Red Barons, veteran utility infielder Greg Legg. The showdown took place at Freddie's Grand Slam above Battaglia Sporting Goods in Scranton, and Greg brought his young 9-month-old daughter Jenna for inspiration. The competition was simple: 9 innings, 7 pitches per inning, with points given from 1 through 5, with a premium on hitting the baseball back up through the middle. Legg, one of the most popular members of the Red Barons, put the pressure on right away as he ripped the baseball back up through the middle and lit up the scoreboard.
That was 4.
Hey, Jim. 1, popped it up.
It's been 24 years since I stepped up to the plate. The eye was still there on this afternoon, but I pulled off the baseball and basically bounced a lot of ground balls to second base. At midway through, it became very apparent that the old baseball relic would fall in this competition to the solid AAA pro.
It's 31 to 20. Had some good hacks, Joe. You had some good hacks. 31 to 20 after 2 innings.
Greg Legg has been a pioneer member of the Red Barons since the very beginning, and one of the most versatile infielders in the Philadelphia Phillies organization. The stroke is right out of a baseball textbook, and he put it to good use.
My Rick Schubat. This is my Rick Schubat. Thank you, Shuey. Thank you, Shuey.
It was a pleasure to square off against a classy person like Greg Legg, and the final totals had Greg winning 134-96. Greg donated his $250 in his daughter Jenna's name to the St. Joseph Center, the early intervention program on Adams Avenue in Scranton. Again, we thank Greg Legg, his daughter Jenna, for their role in another Miller High Life Sports Challenge.
Thanks, Jim.
Hey, thank you. I really appreciate it.
Enjoyed it.
Hey, baby.
Jenna liked it too.
Tonight's Miller Sports Challenge takes us to the world of high school football and one of the finest runners in the Wyoming Valley Conference, and Jamie Proctor of Hanover Area. Proctor scored the winning touchdown last year to give the Hawks the AA Pennsylvania High School Championship. In tonight's challenge, Proctor, one of the better punters in the area, will take on a guy who last punted back in 1967. The rules: 5 kicks for total yardage. The roll counts, and the official scorer is Hawkeye head coach and the state's AA Coach of the Year, Alex Kopaz. The return man downfield, Jamie's younger brother, Kevin. It was time to go to work, and after 2 rounds of punting, I was trailing big time. But then I made my move.
That might roll, though, baby. That might roll. Uh-oh. It's getting the roll. It's dying a little bit sideways. Picked up some yards. Within a yard? Looks like a roller out. Getting breaks here. Oh, backwards.
After 3 rounds of punting, I was right back in the race, and the pressure shifted to young Jamie Proctor.
Big chance to make a move now, Jim.
That might be a roller.
He gets that back
spot over there.
I told you, he gets that backspin.
It's that spot over there on that side. Kick number 4. Maybe I'll get a roll. That's over. Watch out, Jim. Uh-oh. 41.
Yeah, Jim is up by 1 yard total.
On the final kick, Jamie Proctor got off a pretty good punt that gathered a grand total of 44 yards. That set the stage for the dramatic punt by the old man.
39 yards to win. 39 yards against one of the premier kickers in Pennsylvania. Can I do it? That's what the challenge is all about. Uh-oh, I might get the roll out of that, though.
I think so.
Uh-oh.
He got it.
Did I get the roll?
45, 44.
Even though I won, I chose to donate my $250 to Jamie's charity, Jerry's Kids, and the local Muscular Dystrophy Foundation. And to be fair, in the later kickoff, Jamie blew me away, so we actually tied in a 10-punt kickoff. We thank Jamie Proctor, Kevin Proctor, and Alex Kopaz of Hanover Area High School for another big day on the Miller Sports Challenge.
Another 5, though. We'll have another 5 for the real deal.
His name is Mike Barrouk, and for the past several years he has been the key man in the Bishop Auburn basketball attack, and last year was named the most valuable player in the Wyoming Valley Conference. We met for the challenge at Bishop Auburn High School with all of his fans rooting him on. Then the intimidation factor. He dazzled all of us with a series of dunks right before the sports challenge. But this was a basketball game of 3-point shots from the basketball perimeter, as we looked to see who had the strong touch from the outside. The stage was all set for the sports challenge, and I must say we both came out very strong and went around the court with the shooting touch being right on. Barrouk would then put the pressure on. Miller answers that shot, and we eventually went into a sudden death overtime, and Mike Barrouk hit the big shot and took the lead. Back against the wall and fighting to survive, I watched Mike Barrouk make the shot from the corner, and now it was my turn to sink or swim. With the challenge of television and the sharpshooting of a sportscaster, Mike Barrouk felt the heat and it was still a basketball game.
H.O., ladies and gentlemen, he has H.O. and I have H.O.R. and I'm still in the ball game. Let's play ball.
Mike Barrouk sank the shot from the top of the key. I would miss the final shot, and the basketball championship went to Mike Barrouk out of Bishop Hoban High School. And we hope he enjoys the trip he won in today's Miller Sports Challenge. And if you have a challenge, check me out with a postcard and your challenge and send it to me right here at WBRE Television, 62 South Franklin Street, Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania, the zip being 18773, and we can get it on. I met the competition at the Major League Baseball field behind Nanticoke Area High School as we all got together for the second edition of the Miller Sports Challenge. Alan Brown, Bill Grabowski, Jim McDermott, and Mike Barrouk would offer the challenge as we turn the baseball clock back 27 years. The first pitcher I faced would be left-hander Bill Grabowski, and Trojan head coach John Cachetas gave us the lowdown on him.
Well, you look for the ball breaking a little bit to the outside and down a little bit, down and in. And Billy's been somewhat effective at some times during the season, but he has a long way to go yet.
High and deep to right field. Forget about this one.
Not bad for starters on the afternoon. Then it was time for the right-hander to take the mound, and Alan Brown would offer me a very different kind of challenge.
Alan's been throwing, he throws the curveball pretty well, and he's been a real starter for us this year in key games.
Line drive hit to right field. Morandini scores. Crux scores. Holland's being waved around. The throw will be late. He scores.
With the pressure continuing to mount, Mike Barrouk brought his blazing fastball and sharp-breaking left-handed curve to the hill to try and slow down the old man.
A little wild at times, and you can't get comfortable in that batter's box when Mike is throwing because he can really fire it.
Then former Nanticoke area star Jim McDermott was summoned to the hill at a matchup that featured ex-pro against ex-pro, and Jim proved to be a very difficult opponent.
He's one of the special people who've gone through our program at Nanticoke, and he's a tremendous asset to our coaching staff now.
High drive right field. That ball's got a chance. That ball is gone.
It was a special afternoon for us all, and I thank the Nanticoke area baseball team for their hospitality, very good-natured fun, the challenge of baseball, and the nice T-shirt and autographed baseball for the team. If you have a Miller Sports Challenge, put it down on a postcard and send it to the Miller Sports Challenge, WBRE TV, 62 South Franklin Street, Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania, the zip code being 18773.
Watching the ball.
For the next 2 weeks, the greatest tennis players in the world are fighting at the All England Lawn and Tennis Club for the 1994 Wimbledon Tennis Championship. With that sport in the international spotlight, locally we concentrated on the Scranton Tennis Club located off the Morgan Highway to accept the challenge of the club's men's singles champion, Jeff Lewis. It was another first for the Miller Sports Challenge since I never had the pleasure of playing a game of tennis. We volleyed back and forth to get warmed up and gauge one another's athletic ability, and then Jeff Lewis stretched the tennis court to give me a fighting chance.
If it hits the line, it's fine, but you could serve it either either box. You don't have to aim for one particular.
So in other words, if I get the ball on the court, it's in play.
Within
reason.
but then once we start playing, you have the entire court. You can take the, I'll cover the doubles lines, and you can just take the singles lines.
Well, can I have first serve then?
You could have first serve, and you could have 3 serves instead of 2.
3 serves, so yeah, let's play tennis.
I must admit that it was a lot of fun playing tennis for the very first time, but the one thing that impressed me was the fact that touch is a very important part of one's success, or lack thereof. My forehand at times was just a little bit too strong.
Oh, that's a home run.
And then trying to overcompensate, my drop shot let me down and put me at a very distinctive disadvantage.
Holy crap. I'm 185 pounds, and I hit the ball 17 feet. Again, it's touch. You can't be laughing.
It became quite clear that Jeff Lewis was simply having fun, and he was well on his way to a 6-love victory. Somehow I managed to score 2 points in the match. It was fun, but not necessarily ego-enhancing. Jeff Lewis is still the king of the hill, and I enjoyed the Miller Sports Challenge from Jeff Lewis at the Scranton Tennis Club off the Morgan Highway. If you have a Miller Sports Challenge, drop me a line at care of the Miller Sports Challenge, WBRE Television, 62 South Franklin Street, Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania. The zip code is 18773. The weekly Miller Sports Challenge traveled to the beautiful Wyoming Valley Country Club course in Hanover Township this afternoon, where Club Pro Bary Fies and yours truly put the golf clubs on the old golf cart and worked our way out onto the golf course. The Miller Sports Challenge today, the par 5, 504-yard, 11th hole.
Well, it's a good hole for you, Jim, because it's wide open. It's 500-yard par 5. As you can see, there's only one bunker down on the right-hand side. Other than that, there's no trouble till we get to the green.
Uh-oh, look at that. Straight down the fairway, ladies and gentlemen.
Terrific.
Wow. About 290, give or take 100.
I'm impressed.
Now it's time for Bary Fies to tee it up. Beautiful. Considerably longer than my shot. Ground ball. Got a couple more yards on in the rough. Right on, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, that could be close.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh. I'm getting down there, though. I'm getting down. The elevation wasn't quite like I wanted, but I'm getting down to the hole.
Where I come from, they call it Army golf. Left, right, left, right.
Well, let's march. Well, it's on. It's a line drive, and it's over.
Bary's approach to the green was right on as he placed himself in near perfect position for a possible birdie or a fairly easy par. I was in much tougher shape, buried in the bunker.
Look at that, baby. It worked. A little long.
We putted out and I was first, and a 2-putt gave me 8 shots for the 11th hole. Not too bad for the second time out. Bary Fies came away with the par, and we thank Bary Fies and the fine people of the Wyoming Valley Country Club course for their generous hospitality. If you have a Miller Sports Challenge, send it to the Miller Sports Challenge, WBRE Television, 62 South Franklin Street, Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania. The zip code is 18773. His name is Mike Lewis, and he is 62 years of age and has been pitching in the Plains Over 40 League for many, many years. The Miller Sports Challenge tonight, could I get a base hit off this crafty athlete or go 0 for 4? With his teammates on the playing field behind him, Mike Lewis said it was time to go to work. And for me, it was time to try and get a base hit.
This is for real.
I-K-E, go Mike!
There it is. All right.
1 out.
0 for 1 right now, and a little pressure starting to build as I had to adjust to the 12-foot arc and the spin Mike Lewis put on the softball.
This is my automatic pop-up ball.
Uh-oh.
Come on, Mike.
Oh, pulled off it again. 0 for 2.
2 out.
Oh, man.
M-I-K-E, go, Mike.
Now, you girls are rooting for Mike?
Yeah. Yeah.
What about me?
Come on, Jim. Come on,
Very good, very good, very good.
Back now against the wall, 0 for 3, and it was now do or die on the Miller Sports Challenge.
Ooh. Atta boy. That's a big base hit. Base hit. Base hit.
Mike Lewis finally got me out, but I did manage to pick up 3 base hits in the softball game. A special thanks to manager Joe Hurley, pitcher Mike Lewis, and the Plains Over 40 Softball League. If you have a Miller Sports Challenge, send it to the Miller Sports Challenge, WBRE Television, 62 South Franklin Street, Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania. The zip code is 18773.
Come in and thank you very much. Thank you, and I
The Miller Sports Challenge tonight takes us to a place that is breathtaking in its scenery and setting, but one of the best kept fishing secrets in the area. 6 o'clock in the morning with the water calm and still, and hopefully the fish were waiting and ready for the action. One of the conditions of this week's Miller Sports Challenge: don't tell anyone where this place is. Mike Kaye and Jim Miller took to the water with great anticipation as we worked the shorelines looking for the largemouth bass to begin dancing on the water. Suddenly, a hit for Mike Kaye, but the bass spit it out, then it was time to press on. It was not a very good first hour for me, and in the back of my mind, I had the urge to head up the hill and pick up some live bait, which I felt would give me the distinct edge.
Well, we're 0 for 1 hour, and we've decided that the best thing to do is to go to the local bait store and buy some minnows and throw the bobber out there and see what happens.
We picked up a mixture of shiners and fatheads from the Big Barn Bait and Tackle Shop on Little Lake Road in Slocum, and it was time to go back to work. Working the live bait and the bobber, I took the lead as I brought in a pretty nice sized calico bass.
It's a calico, nice one. Bring it up.
Mike Kaye, still working the rubber worm along the shoreline, came right back. He got the hit and hauled in a largemouth bass.
Let him jump out of water. There he is. All right. Oh. Very nice.
Later in the morning, and still working the bobber and fatheads exclusively, I managed to get another hit. It was only a sizable bluegill, but it was still a fish. And once again, I had the lead. Trolling down the middle of the water, Mike Kaye got another hit and once again managed to land the largemouth bass, and we were both tied up at 2 fish apiece. It came to an end at just that. Mike Kaye actually won on size, but the most important ingredient: we had a good time and a fun Miller Sports Challenge. Thanks to Mike Kaye, and we'll possibly meet in a rematch in a few weeks. If you would like to issue a sports challenge, do so by sending it to the Miller Sports Challenge, WBRE Television, 62 South Franklin Street, Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania. The zip code is 18773. Dream Team 2 is the classic basketball team representing the United States at the World Games in Toronto, Canada, as they look to duplicate the Olympic gold medal efforts of Dream Team 1 a few years ago. This week, Dream Team 28 was challenged by 3 guys who were younger, talked some smack, and could play some basketball. Welcome to the Wilkes-Barre YMCA, everyone, for this week's edition of the ever-popular Miller Sports Challenge. The challenge: basketball. 3 games, 11 points per game, best 2 out of 3 games. The guys from the Wilkes-Barre YMCA against the boys from WBRE TV 28 Sports. The first game was a test for the older sports guys as we depended on the outside shot to keep us in the game, but the shots wouldn't fall and we fell behind quickly. We had some moments, but when this game was over, we were in trouble and trailing 1-0 and facing a do-or-die game in number 2.
We need a timeout to regroup. 20-second timeout.
Game 2 was the comeback effort for Dream Team 28 as Sid Michaels found the range from the outside. Richie Charneski did the hard stuff inside, and we had a chance to go for the victory and a tie in the best-of-3-game series. The YMCA gang had their moments as well, but in this one it came down to luck and the shot at the right time. The miss inside, the old man with the rebound, the shot on the follow, and it falls for the victory to set up the third and final game. Game 3 was nip and tuck, and I had to use a trick or two to keep us alive for the championship.
What is this? It's an offensive foul, right?
Oh, yeah.
I just stopped, slowed you down, go in there. What do you want? You're a young fella. You got 30 years on you. Look at that fella. Look at him. He's a young fella.
That's cheap, man.
With the basketball game and the Miller Sports Challenge on the line, I hit the big shot that gave Dream Team 28 the 1-point win and the championship 2-1. If you would like to join me for a Miller Sports Challenge, drop me a line to the Miller Sports Challenge, WBRE Television, 62 South Franklin Street, Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania. The zip code is 18773. Some of the greats of baseball gathered at the Lackawanna County Stadium for a very special night of nostalgia and baseball as a collection of who's who in the sport's history played a 7-inning baseball game. I had a chance to team up once again with the former teammate of mine in the Pittsburgh Pirates organization, National League All-Star Dave Cash.
Well, Jim, I never thought I'd be in Scranton, Pennsylvania in my 46th year of life, but it's been a good career. I had a lot of fun, and I know we had some fun when we were down there in Salem. That's quite some time ago, though. I mean, you were telling how old we are, so we shouldn't tell the people out there about them days in Salem.
My first appearance at the plate came against former Yankee right-hander Mike Torres, and I just missed an inside fastball, but I got some wood on the ball, but not enough, and flied out to another former Yankee great in right field, Roy White. Chuck Tanner then put me in the ball game at first base, and right away a tester on a cue ball down the line that I managed to come up with. Later in the game, former Cincinnati Reds right-hander Raleigh Eastwood knocks it down and sets me up for the out at first base and the easy play. Highlight moment later in the game on defense on the back end of the 1-4-3 double play to get the club out of trouble. Then it was time to bat again, and this time against former Oakland Hall of Famer right-hander Raleigh Fingers. The great Lou Brock of the St. Louis Cardinals gave me a special piece of advice, saying just hit the baseball, and I was ready to go to work. The inside fastball and the base hit to right field that was capped off by a handshake curtain call to the dugout by former Philly slugger Dick Allen. It was a special challenge on a very special night. And if you would like to check us out, send your challenge to the Miller Sports Challenge, WBRE Television, 62 South Franklin Street, Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania. The zip code is 18773.
Pull. Hey, beginner's luck, right? Beginner's luck. Pull. 2 for 2. It's now Boomer's turn. Pull.
We would then settle in for a pretty stiff battle with James launching the Skeet, and we were neck and neck, and suddenly the championship was up for grabs, and I had a chance. 5 of 8 with 2 rounds left in regulation.
Pull. Waited a long time for that one, long time. Got it down range. Pull.
7 of 10 was my score, and the pressure was on for Chris. He had to nail them both before sudden death overtime, and the champion dug deep and was set for the challenge.
As it falls to the ground shattered, the pressure is on.
Sure. Okay.
Oh.
Then it was a one-shot sudden death battle. I had the first shot, and again I thought I was online, but it was not to be.
The opening is there.
Then it was Chris's turn for the championship. I had no choice but to hope for a miss and get another chance, but it never happened.
Oh.
Congratulations to Chris Bugda. I finished 7 of 11, he was 8 of 11, and picked up another championship.
8 of 11, and I finished 7 of 11. So he's the champion. We'll stand here. And do you have a favorite charity? Have you picked one yet?
Hospice.
The hospice? Yeah. So $250 will go to hospice.
The Grenadiers of G.A.R. have been one of the most successful high school football programs in the Wyoming Valley Conference. And under the leadership of head coach Charlie Fink, the club has won a pair of Eastern Conference championships and a District 2 title last year. This week, I spent some time with the Grenadiers of G.A.R. on the practice field, and the live extra point drill was the Miller Sports Challenge. And under the gun, right away, I went first.
Look out! Let's go!
They said the kick was practice and didn't count. And the next 2 times I fired and got the kick away, but was wide to the right. I then picked up some pointers from Alex and head coach Charlie Fink and gave it one more try.
After you kick the extra point, your son's the blue and gray.
So wait a minute.
If you keep it down.
No, okay, I'm looking. Keep the head down. Should I start my motion on the snap?
On the snap.
Be moving on the snap.
On the snap.
Moving on the snap. Come on, man. Bring it on.
Yeah.
It's good. All right.
It was then time for Alex to tee it up. I put some subtle pressure on, and it worked.
Wide left. It is wide to the left. How about this? Hold it. Keep your head down. Listen for the fight song. And does this look familiar? Hold it.
It was time for Alex to call on his experience under fire, and he proceeded to drill the next kick right down the middle of the uprights for his first extra point of the matchup. Then he had to go for the tie and kick the football completely out of the football field to tie the Miller Sports Challenge at 2 kicks apiece. But Charlie Fink then stated that my first kick was no good.
We found out that Jim Miller is a right-footed kicker, not a left-footed kicker.
I kicked left. I got 2 through the goalpost.
You got 1. Just because you hit the wall.
What about the first one? The practice one?
The practice ones don't count.
It didn't count. The first one didn't count.
Well, through the miracle of instant replay, let's look at that first kick again. As you can plainly see, it's inside the left upright and good. So since I get a handicap in the sports challenge, this free practice kick was good, and it ends at a tie. Many thanks to Charlie Fink and the Grenadiers of G.A.R. for their hospitality this week. And if you would like to take part in the Miller Sports Challenge, contact me at WBRE Television, 62 South Franklin Street, Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania, the zip being 18773.
Some of the top drivers in the IndyCar circuit, guys like Mario Andretti, Al Unser Jr., and Emerson Fittipaldi joined some of the top names in the media for the Mini Grand Prix Challenge at Nazareth. My partner for the event was Robbie Gordon, 5th in points on the IndyCar circuit in 1994. Robbie, what kind of tips can you give me or hints before we get started?
Well, you know, don't use the left foot. Oval, flat. When you're flat, you're good. This is an oval track, so that's a place to start. Then hopefully if our drivers change, we'll be real quick. We should be a good team.
Robbie and I put our heads together for a pre-race strategy session, going over just what we had to do to get a quick start and jump out ahead of the field. The ground rules for the race: IndyCar driver gets 2 laps around the short course, then a quick switch and 2 more for the media member. We started on the outside of the front row in the number 3 position, but it wouldn't take long for our luck to take a downward spiral. The car wasn't up to par, and soon after the green flag dropped to start the race, Robbie Gordon dropped back to 9th place in the field. Soon it was time for me to strap on the old helmet and get ready to take over the steering wheel. Our driver change went smoothly. Robbie out of the car, me in. He even tried to help out with a push down the front straightaway. But with the left front wing knocked off in an accident on lap 2, we just didn't have the horses to catch up to the rest of the field. Try as I might, there was just no way to make up any ground, and when I finally came down for my second lap and took the checkered flag, we would come home with a 9th place finish.
Well, I did my best, but my partner just put me in a disadvantageous position. Is that a word?
You know, they all passed me. Guy, I don't know what happened. We were going backwards in a hurry.
We'll get him next time.
Next time.
Our thanks to IndyCar driver Robbie Gordon in Pennsylvania International Speedway in Nazareth. And if you have a sports challenge, drop us a card here at WBRE TV in care of the Miller Sports Challenge. Sid Michaels, Eyewitness Sports.
It was a rainy Wednesday afternoon on the Panthers practice field, but that didn't dampen the spirit of the Panthers football team as they got set for the invasion of the poor man's Ken Stabler and my efforts at quarterbacking the offense. Coach Roger Nuncaster gave me the play, and I had to make the call. Zip 131 dive. Zip 131 dive on 1. Let's go. Set. Red 19. Red 19. Hut. Well, how about that? Nice simple dive play, the good handoff and follow-up fake, and we made some yardage. So it was time to call another play. Red 131 dive. I think it's red 131 dive. Great. We had to smooth out one later play since I, or at least the coach, thought I didn't carry out the fake good enough. He told me about it, and we ran it again. Now, what are the problems now?
That was a little bit.
I got to make the fake after the handoff.
You've got to get out of the
center quicker. But if I hand the ball off, hold it now. If I hand the ball off, shouldn't that be enough?
No, you got to fake.
But the guy's got the ball. I'm
Coach,
just worried about me getting killed.
This time we're going to give it to that guy, okay?
Set, red 19. Red 19. Cut. With our confidence up, we decided to go to the air. And with the call, we went to work around the left side, but had to make a major quick change in progress.
Did you audible?
Yes, sir.
You run the play that I call.
It was complete.
You run the play I call. You're lucky that you got coverage on that one. Now let's go.
Yes, sir. Okay, man, here it is, the grand finale. Rhino 12 on 1. Rhino 12 on 1. Break. Ready, boys? Go. Set. Red 19. Red 19. Hut, hut. It was a special afternoon of fun on the practice field. We would like to thank head coach Roger Nuncaster, his staff, and the great kids at Bloomsburg High School for their help in this week's Miller Sports Challenge. If you would like to check us out, drop me a line on the Miller Sports Challenge, WBRE Television, 62 South Franklin Street, Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania. The zip code is 18773. 4 nights a week at Pocono Downs, the excitement of harness racing brings fans to the track and thousands of others watching on satellite systems all over the Northeast. For me, it was time to report to the driver's locker room, put on the colors, try on the helmet, and at least going out looking like a confident and true professional. When I left the locker room, I was ready for racing, and it was time for me to meet my horse and some last-minute instructions.
Once the race is underway, just stay a comfortable distance for yourself from that hub rail and steer him around the track until the head of the lane, and then urge him on a little bit.
If there's one key for me, what would it be in this race?
Well, just be make sure you are comfortable. The horse will adjust to you. You have to be the one that's comfortable. He'll listen to what you tell him.
It was steady Wef against Chapter and Verse, driven by the track's leading driver this year, the Rocket, Rod LaFramboise.
Go! Jim Miller alertly goes to the front. It's Jim Miller in front. Pacing in second is Rodney. Jim Miller driving steady Wef, leads it by a length. Pacing in second as they head around the turn. Rodney has a Chapter in Verse. They're setting a torrid pace as they head around the turn. Jim Miller using his driving savvy to keep a 2-length advantage. LaFramboise sits second. They head down the backstretch. It's a very strong, steady Wef on the front end. Rodney sitting second with Chapter and Verse. Miller doing an excellent job controlling the pace. LaFramboise, perplexed by his situation, remains 2 lengths back. As Miller's proving too tough to handle. They head around the turn. Jim Miller's in front. Now Rodney LaFramboise moves a bit closer, comes to the outside. But Miller looks over, grimaces, accepts the challenge. Steady Wef starts taking off. LaFramboise on the outside goes to a furious drive. But Miller's on the inside, hanging tough. Chapter and Verse on the outside, they duel through the lane. Jim Miller on the inside, Rodney the outside, nose to the wire, Jim Miller on the inside. And it's, wow, too close to call. Rodney LaFramboise.
It was as close as you could get, but once we all checked out the photo finish, you can plainly see that Chapter and Verse nipped us by a nose at the wire to win. I would like to thank the people at Pocono Downs, the rental stable who owns Steady Wef, the Rocket, and Chapter and Verse for a very enjoyable Miller Sports Challenge. If you have a challenge, drop us a line to the Miller Sports Challenge, WBRE Television, 62 South Franklin Street, Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania. The zip code is 18773. The Hawks of Hanover Area are rich in high school football tradition, 4 Eastern Conference championships, a state title, and a runner-up trophy in the past 12 years. What was missing, you ask? An old but still very talented wide receiver to run some routes and add yet more punch to the offense. Following some stretching drills, it was time to go to work and haul in some passes.
Head up, step.
First down.
I used to run the post pattern pretty good in high school, and I found out that the speed was missing a little bit, but the instinct and hands were still there. I could still run the out pattern with the very best. So if you need a first down, old number 44 can still get the job done. We also ran the hitch pattern with a sense of urgency with moves that would pick up a first down for anyone. Well, it was a fun afternoon at Marion Terrace, and I would like to thank Alex Kopaz, his staff and players for all their courtesy all afternoon long. Drop me a line to the Miller Sports Challenge, WBRE Television, 62 South Franklin Street, Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania. The zip code is 18773.
Now, 28 Eyewitness Sports.
Hi, everybody. I'm Kevin Lynn. I'm filling in for Jim Miller, who is, well, we'll check in with Jim in a matter of seconds here. The Rose Bowl, finally, is tomorrow. The Nittany Lions play the Ducks of Oregon, and our sports director, Jim Miller, has been slaving away in Pasadena for several days now, asking the tough questions, bearing up under the sunny skies. He joins us now live from the Rose Bowl, where, well, that's the scene right there. I have to tell you right now, folks, I can tell you from looking at the Rose Bowl that Penn State has not been in there to play yet. They have not been in there to practice yet, if I'm not mistaken. But Jim Miller is there, and he's standing by live. Jim.
Thank you very much, Kevin, and happy holiday, everyone. We join you from the Rose Bowl here in Pasadena, California, where we are now less than 24 hours away from the granddaddy of all bowl games, where the Lions of Penn State, depending on what happens later tonight in the Orange Bowl, will go after their third national championship in the last 10 years. The Lions are 18-point favorites to roll over the Oregon Ducks tomorrow afternoon. However, the Ducks said they will show up to play some football and hopefully post the largest upset in the history of Rose Bowl competition. Now, Penn State has posted many unbeaten football teams over the glorious history of the football program at that university. However, only 2 national championships. Now, earlier this week, we spoke to former Penn State All-American running back and the school's only Heisman Trophy winner, John Cappelletti, about the lack of national championship recognition.
I think it gets to the point, though, where somebody had to lay the groundwork a little bit. I look at the teams before me, and especially that 68-69 team. I don't think they probably got the recognition that they deserve. They were probably the best team in the country that year. And then we come along, and maybe the schedule wasn't what people wanted. Our bowl game didn't match up quite right that year. We ended up the season the only team undefeated, but still finished 5th. So it's hard to figure out, but they're getting it now. If they can do some things right on the second, and Miami can do some things right on the first, I think we can get into a national championship position again.
We've already accomplished one of our 2 goals, and one of our 3 goals. Our 3 goals were to have an undefeated season, to win the Rose Bowl, and the third was to get a national championship. We've already successfully gotten one of those. Hopefully we'll have 2 of those after January 2nd, and if everything works out after that, hopefully our 3rd goal will come the morning of January 3rd.
Ladies and gentlemen, as we begin to wrap up our Rose Bowl coverage, you're looking at a magnificent sight that is part of the Rose Bowl package. That's the San Gabriel mountain range that is located roughly 30 miles behind the University of Oregon end zone. It sets the stage for 100,000 plus here tomorrow afternoon. Interesting football game because Oregon has a long shot at best to challenge the Lions of Penn State. Early prediction, if Joe Paterno backs off a little bit, I like Penn State to win it 42-10. That's it with the Lions from the Rose Bowl in Southern California all week long. Happy holidays once again, and now back to Kev in the studio.
Jim, Happy New Year, and good luck. Enjoy the game tonight, but of course we'll be looking forward to tomorrow night, won't we?
Thank you, my friends. See you tomorrow night with post-game here from the Rose Bowl.
Okay, great. Thanks, Jim. Okay, the second biggest game of Penn State's year happens tonight in Miami, and right here on TV 28.